Within a bleak and dismal swamp, hidden beneath its murky waters, lies the headquarters of the most sinister villains of all time. A Legion of Doom.
In light of recent events involving Sweet Baby Inc., I figured now would be a good time for me to share my thoughts on everything that's been going on. But I won't be doing it alone. I'll be joined by my good friend Jenpachi.
Thanks for having me on. I always like discussing these matters with you. It's always fun, and I look forward to talking about all the bullshit that's been going on with Sweet Baby Inc. So, let's get into it.
So a few days ago, a user by the name of Cabrutus, who you can also find on X if you want to give him a follow, he had made a Steam page where it basically had created a list of all the games that Sweet Baby Inc. had been working on, and this has caused a lot of the employees to have a lot of meltdowns on social media and going as far as trying to dox this man. And a lot of people, thankfully, are now seeing what this company is up to, the games they've been working on, despite some of this information being public for a couple months now, really starting off with Spider-Man 2. A lot of people had made mention of that, and also Alan Wake 2. But overall, I am glad that a lot of people are coming together and finding out what's going on. It has a lot of members over on the Steam page if you're interested in adding on to that number. Also, a lot of people have been making videos exposing Sweet Baby Inc. Some have even done this months ago as well. I have made mention of them a few times, but I never made a video solely dedicated on the topic of the company itself. But I'm glad I'm able to do it now, and I actually have Jenpachi to discuss this and give our thoughts on what we've been feeling over the past few months with this complete shit show of a company. What are your thoughts on what's been going on as far as Cabrutus with the Steam page and the list of games that have been shown?
So I think first and foremost, it really shows that Sweet Baby Inc. are cowards. And the reason I say that is because this information being public shouldn't bother them, no matter who's putting it out. I mean, if they're proud of the work that they're doing involving being a consultant for all these games, then it should be no issue if people know the games that they're involved in. So, in my opinion, I just look at it as a thing where they know what they're doing is wrong. They got their hands in the cookie jar, and they thought they were perfectly safe being a background company. I mean, yeah, it was public information, but at the same time, it wasn't something people were actively looking into. They were perfectly happy to be a small company in the background, working from the shadows, and now they're exposed. They don't like it. That's my initial take on it. Just based on the reaction from them and from the people involved there, trying to dox this man, trying to, get this guy's accounts deleted because he's doing something that is actually not even a real issue. They might not like it, but nothing he's doing is wrong or breaks any, guidelines, as far as I know.
No, I agree with you. And another person who clearly works for Sweet Baby Inc. has been having a lot of meltdowns, showing their posts, if you were able to see it, by the name of Felix at Home, with, they have pronouns, they, them, or whatever. So I'm guessing it's a guy. It might be a girl. I don't know. I mean, they probably don't even know themselves, but regardless of the gender, the person clearly works for the company. What capacity, who knows, but a lot of these employees just trying to come at this man, or really just trying to diffuse the whole situation entirely. And it's not making them look any better, because they're just showing that they can't deal with any criticism or backlash for what they've been doing for years now. I mean, this company's been around since like 2017, I believe. So, like you said, they were working in the shadows for a while. They had no problem. And then, of course, their name's been on credits for a lot of games. They've even been, I believe, working on some games by themselves. I know that was a game at the Game Awards that was shown, and right off the bat, you see Sweet Baby Inc.'s name on there. So, they've been content with what they've been doing, because it wasn't getting the backlash that it's been getting now. But once now the heat is on them, they don't like it, because everyone else just doesn't like it. Everyone else is opposing it, because we all know what it is. We all know what they've been doing. This is no different than so many other companies that honestly didn't even need Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement, because they've been fucking up shit already. They've been putting their own far left woke ideologies in their games years ago. Naughty Dog is a perfect example of that. But Sweet Baby Inc., being a consulting company for other game studios out there, all it does is just pile on more shit to their products. That's basically how I see it.
And none of that surprises me, because when you look at like the games they're involved in and what their job is to do as consultants, I'm not shocked that they're soft that way, where like they can't handle criticism. Their company is built around being crybaby victims, and portraying that in video games where it doesn't belong. So it doesn't shock me at all that these people behave that way. And then when you look at like the blatant racism, for example, from somebody like Felix at home saying that he's grossed out by seeing white rich people kiss, it's like, what a weird and racist thing to say publicly on X. But that's the world we live in, where it's perfectly socially acceptable to push racism toward a specific group of people. And then when you see Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2, it all makes sense. And all these people love to throw out the word bigot and whatnot, but you're gonna tell me saying you're being grossed out by watching white rich people kiss isn't bigoted? That's not a bigoted statement. So in the end of the day, it doesn't shock me. And I actually seen his X account because I was curious, and he does have they, he, and his pronouns. Like, those people at Sweet Baby Inc., you have to understand that they're basically, I would say, obviously they're diversity hires, but when you look at the head of the company, Kim Belair, and you look at the projects they've worked on, like, you have a bunch of inexperienced, unqualified people consulting and writing games, these massive AAA games that cost all this money to produce, and then people are shocked, and then they're shocked when people call out the terrible writing, the ass-pull writing, the terrible plot contrivances, the forced injected wokeness, injected social politics, and then they act shocked when people don't like it and when it's obvious. Because the thing is back then, when there were actually good writers in that space, in the gaming space and comic book space, etc., they would be able to implement like diverse characters without it being written so poorly and so blatantly and ham-fistedly shoved into these projects.
You had mentioned Kim Belair, the CEO at the company. I wanted to make mention that she used to originally work for Ubisoft. She did work on Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the DLCs. I don't think all of them, but she was a writer there. And we already know what Ubisoft is up to, what type of company they are. So, of course, you see some of the female characters in a game like Skull and Bones, the quadruple A game. And Sweet Baby Inc. is actually a very good example of what's going on with AAA gaming, or just gaming as a whole, of what they consider is the priority over what really should be a priority, and that is making sure your games work, it has a good story, good characters. And a lot of the games they've been working on are none of that, have none of that whatsoever. You don't see good characters, like in a game like Spider-Man 2, a character assassination, they cucked out Peter. Mary Jane is front and center, so is Miles, the token black character, who is not really Spider-Man. And also Venom. They basically said, you know what, we're not going to give you a lot of Venom in the game, even though it's been heavily marketed. We're going to give you more of Mary Jane, which no one asked for. And the same thing with God of War Ragnarok, where that game is very progressive for a Viking game. And all the games they've been working on have just been propaganda-filled mess. Just like Suicide Squad killed Justice League, all the pandering there, they worked on the writing for that game, like the dialogue and the banter and all that. But we know what type of game that is. We know how the story is and how they treated the Justice League as a whole. And it's basically like they'll treat the villains in a way how they view themselves. Like, they view themselves as the Suicide Squad. They view the Justice League as an issue. It's very similar to when you see leftists say defund the police, and what they want to tear down statues has been around for like hundreds of years. They want to burn books. They want to rewrite history because they find history offensive. But all these people just, they're miserable. They have hate inside of them. If you look at Kim Belair's profile picture on X, it's like one of those like images where you can like see through her soul, and you can see like the misery and the hatred that she has. It just looks like some deranged college student trying to find trying to find who she is. But we all know who she is. We all know who all the people at Sweet Baby Inc. are. A bunch of scumbags. They're trying to dox the guy who made the Steam page. They're trying to go after anyone who says anything bad about them. As you can see, the meltdown from all of them. Even the people involved at Rocksteady who had helped work on Suicide Squad, they were having meltdowns and going crazy online because the game fucking bombed, as it should. So it's like, even people now, like, some people were even asking me, like, I don't see what's the problem with Sweet Baby Inc. What did they do? What did they make that was so bad? What's so wrong with it? And it's like all this information coming out. People are really gonna try to defend this company, this piece of shit company that's been ruining so many games. Former employees from other companies that are clearly woke, activist, infested companies. All these companies are compromised. And so is Sweet Baby Inc. It's built on a lie. It's built on people who hate white people, clearly, and straight men. They hate everything that would be perceived as normal. And that's why they're always trying to force their delusional ideologies onto other people through video games. And that's what they've been doing. And so for anyone to try to defend them as if they're not doing that is completely asinine.
So I wanted to actually address a couple of points that you made. Like, for example, like even as far as like the hatred stuff you said goes, even like black characters, unless they're promoting some like kind of activism or like social politics, even those characters are unacceptable, right? Like you can't even have like a character that's just badass and be black or Hispanic or whatever. They have to also preach some social crybaby narrative, because that's what they are. Honestly, it comes across as just crybaby victim blame, like, you know, not victim blaming, but being victims and blaming everyone else for things that are going on in their own personal lives. I mean, it's like you said with Suicide Squad, where in Suicide Squad, I mean, you have Harley Quinn lecturing Batman about harming and ruining people's lives and you know, hurting mentally fragile criminals and whatnot. But what has she done? Worked with Joker, killed tons of innocents, done more harm than anything Batman could have ever done. And you know, it just shows like and I think that's part of like what makes it bad writing, is that like not only is it activist writing, but it's also nonsensical, it's illogical, doesn't make sense with anything that was previously established. And as soon as you give it any scrutiny, you start to see where all the Swiss cheese holes are within the story, you know. And again, back to Felix at Home and Kim Belair and even Brian Inhithar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he talks about how, you know, you want to give people something, and maybe they might not have wanted something, but they don't know it yet unless, you know, you sneak it in there. Like, nobody wants this. Nobody cares about it. People just want to play as Spider-Man, fight Venom. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Good versus evil is good enough. Evil comes in all colors and sizes and shapes and everything, and so does good. You don't need to tell people, you know, subliminally through the story about patriarchy and all this shit that are personal issues that these people have, that are not reflective of what most people think in their average lives, you know, in their average day-to-day lives. So I just think it's a good point that you made, you know, going back to like how they just want to fill everything with politics, fill everything with an agenda, and in the end of the day, they don't have to do that. You know, where people who grew up in the 90s and 2000s grew up watching shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Family Matters, stuff like that, Blade, Spawn. And again, I'll admit that Family Matters and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air have some episodes that are like talk on those subjects, but primarily they were good shows and were just focused on being funny and entertaining. And Spawn and Blade were just badasses, you know? So it's not necessary, and we know why they're shoving it in. And clearly, I think the worst of all is when you see the blatant racism. It's like, it's so blatant, and like it's just so clear that they hate white people. that they hate men, right? Like it's almost like a tier list of hate. Like at the top of the list, all right, you hate white males. Then all right, black males could be second, and then Hispanic males could be second. Then below that, or whatever race, and then below that you have women that aren't feminist, and then below, like, it just trickles down. They hate you. Then you have like, all right, she's a woman, but is she a white woman? Is she a whatever? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's kind of funny that these people try to like do all this activist stuff, and really the people seeing race and pushing these stereotypes the most are them. They're the ones who are keeping hatred alive, which is a shame, because there are so many good characters, so much progress made moving forward toward people really being accepting toward each other and having fun. I don't think anybody, like, when I played Final Fantasy VII originally, I had no problem with Barrett. I don't know one person who I personally met that said, Barrett, I don't like Barrett because he's a black character. I don't like whatever. It was never a factor. Barrett was just a cool, big, freaking muscular dude with the machine gun arm. That was pretty badass. And he took no shit, and he told everybody, all right, you don't like what I'm doing, kiss my ass. And I think that's what made him cool. You didn't need to have Barrett sitting there complaining about race and modern. I don't even like calling it modern politics, because it's not. It's like almost like it's just their opinion of what they think is happening, as opposed to what actual reality is. And ultimately, when you're telling somebody like, oh, you're doing targeted harassment because you're calling us out for our public information. I mean, our public info about what we've produced and what we've worked on. And you're saying that this guy is doing targeted harassment. Meanwhile, you're calling for this guy to get doxxed hypocritically. You're saying, don't let him get away with this. He has to get doxxed. Steam, remove him, whatever. You're saying all these things, and yet you're acting like a victim, claiming that they're outing you, when all of this is public info on your end. And if you're so proud of what you're doing, it shouldn't bother you one bit that this information is public. Because if people agree with you, then they're gonna look at those. They're gonna say, "Hey, I'm gonna use this list to buy these games." So deep down, they know people don't want it. They're a sneaky, cowardly company that works in the shadows. They got exposed. They want to pretend like they're all for this shit, but even they know deep down that it's wrong. Because if they didn't think it was wrong, they would be proud of this. They'd be proud of it and just say, "Hey, yeah, everybody, I'm gonna share his list so everyone knows what we're working on to troll him." But they know people don't want it, and they know that they've hijacked the industry, and they know what they're doing. It's subversion. And of course, even with this video, you're gonna have people in the comments that are gonna be like, corporate slaving for these companies, saying, "Oh, but it's not that bad," as you said before. What they're doing is so wrong, or whatever. And that's what they want. They want people like you to just help normalize the BS that they're trying to propagate. Because in the end of the day, when you look at all these things, you can't deny reality. Woke smells, sex sells. Beauty is great, woke shit is fake. And if it wasn't, they wouldn't have to hijack Spider-Man. They can make Woke Man 2024 and people would buy it because they believe in that stuff and they want to support it. They know people don't want to support it. They want to support Spider-Man. And guess what? They're willing to. A lot of people are willing to accept. A lot of people are willing to accept this stuff because they just want to play the Spider-Man game, but that doesn't mean that they like it.
You're absolutely right. And one of the things I wanted to touch on was what you had mentioned before about why people would buy a game like Spider-Man because of the name of Spider-Man alone. All the years that people have been invested into the character, the lore, and it's the same thing when it comes to something like God of War, where people think that it's going to remain the same as they remembered it beforehand. Where now it's like with God of War Ragnarok, Kratos is a cuck now. You got all these girl boss characters, diversity of the cast, and all that, and it feels less like a true God of War game and more of just something else. It might as well be a new IP. But a lot of these companies, they latch on to existing properties because they know it's going to sell on the brand recognition alone, which is why you see so many games that go woke and then they end up failing because they try to be its own thing. Like Forspoken is a good example, or even the upcoming unless it gets canceled, but Dustborn. We already know what's going to happen with that game, and we already saw the effects that it had with Saints Row 2022, and apparently that was on the list on Steam. where they had worked on Saints Row 2022. And apparently they had worked on Starfield. Some people are saying that's incorrect, but Starfield's already a woke game anyway, and it failed clearly. Player numbers are dropping, and a lot of people just don't care about these games. These games are infested with woke activists in the studios, and the quality has been dropping, which is why you're seeing so many companies just laying people off left and right. And it's not entirely because of Sweet Baby Inc., but they are definitely playing a big part, because some of the games they've been working on, some of the studios have been receiving a lot of the brunt of that when it comes down to the negative effects it's been having.
So, and I also want to make a point, because again, like, you're gonna have people defend this stuff no matter what. People don't realize that wokeness is not necessarily just it's not the existence of a black character, of a white character, of Hispanic, whatever. Like that it's not the diversity that makes it woke. It's when you're taking these characters and you're using them to either replace existing characters, because apparently if they were white before, there's something wrong with that, as an example. Or you're just using them to speak on political BS, right? Like, you just have them, you're watching a Batman movie and all of a sudden Catwoman breaks into a diatribe about white privilege. Or you have a movie like Ant-Man, and all of a sudden Ant-Man's the idiot that gets talked down to. He was already kind of like a joke comedic character, but then all of a sudden now he's being talked down to by a bunch of female characters within the story. It's not that the female characters made it woke, it's the fact that they're using it as talking pieces for whatever agendas they have. They're using them as talking pieces, rather. So, there's a clear distinction with that. And I think that, like, even if people who disagree with, your take or my take, if they made it this far in the video, hopefully they understand what I'm saying here, and what the actual consensus of what woke actually is. Because again, people want to say like, oh, well, why is it woke? Because Miles Morales is in it? No, why? What makes that game woke is that Peter's cucked and Miles is clearly there to replace him. He gets talked down to by everyone. And, I think it's pretty blatant, and people fail to understand that even if you like the game, you have a right to like it, but that doesn't take away the fact that it has an agenda or not. You can enjoy something that has an agenda in it. Even if I don't like it, even if I won't personally play it, I would respect somebody saying, well, I don't care, I just want to play Spider-Man, I just want to play X-Men or whatever, I just want to watch the new thing. I respect that more than trying to pretend it doesn't exist. If you don't care that it exists, it's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but I understand that's your perspective. But what makes it bad is when you're trying to gaslight and lie and do mental gymnastics and act like it's not there, So I think that's just an important point I wanted to make. And also, like, again, Sweet Baby Inc., they're gonna keep doing this, and you're gonna see it more and more, and we're gonna go through the same cycle of events. The game gets announced, everything looks good, then all of a sudden you get a trailer with some weird crap in it, you get some weird dialogue, a bizarre sudden change, and then you're gonna get that discourse all over again. Well, it's woke. No, it's not. Y'all are just mad. Just cope. Y'all are just bigots. Meanwhile, you have people like this guy, Lego Butt, saying that he hates when white rich people kiss, right? Then you have that on the other end of things. And again, the people commenting on X aren't part of the industry, but Sweet Baby Inc., guess what? They actually are writing and consulting for those games. So if you're gonna tell me the people who think like this, who are writing the stories for these games and adjusting these games, are not gonna put their politics into the games, then you're just purposely being delusional, or you're just trying to avoid logic for the sake of winning an argument.
I think it's very important that a lot of people are just honest and realistic about what's going on. If you want to buy the game because you think it looks cool, no matter what obvious agendas that a company is trying to push, whatever it may be, instead of trying to be disingenuous about the conversation you're having or others are having, just be honest. Just say you want to buy the game no matter what. You have fear of missing out. You feel like you have to be in on the conversation of the brand new game, the shiny new thing that's out. Just be honest, because Spider-Man 2, we already know what it is. Well, piece of shit. Same with Alan Wake 2, God of War, Ragnarok, all these other games that they have on their list, such as Suicide Squad. All these games from Sweet Baby Inc. are garbage. It's no different than other Western studios that do the same thing. Whether if it's under ESG or it's just by the activists themselves, which is usually just a combination of the two. Because all these companies are just filled with woke activists, a bunch of hacks, so many compromised industry veterans like a Cory Barlog or even a Neil Druckmann. Because I guarantee you, if Neil Druckmann was making a game, he was the head of Naughty Dog in the 90s or the early 2000s, you would not be seeing no shit like in Last of Us 2 or any of the shit he tries to preach to people online, because so many of these developers, you know, they have this like grandstanding about themselves where they feel like they're like immortal, or that they're like better than everyone else, that everyone has to just listen to everything they have to say, when we just want a good game. We want escapism. Other companies are able to do that. Why can't they? Companies were able to do it in the past, so why can't they do it now? Now you have consulting companies like Sweet Baby Inc., which is like Feminist Frequency 2.0, but 10 times worse, because clearly we see the effects that it's been having with all these games. And thankfully, this creators list was made because now it opens eyes for more people to see and to be fully aware of what they're getting themselves into. So now you know the games that they're making, what they're involved in. So when you see their names on there, or when you see the game that's going to be coming out, or that's already there, maybe it's a game from a year or two ago you were interested in, and you remember, oh yeah, it was on the list on Steam, the creators list. I'm not going to get it now. You can even go on the website. Go on the website and see the names of the clients that they have on there. Valve being one of them. So who knows? Maybe Valve will bend the knee to Sweet Baby Inc. again and take that Steam group page off. Who knows? 2K is on that list. Who knows what's going to happen with the next BioShock game? Maybe that's the game they're working on. Or maybe it's going to be Mafia 4. We don't know. Square Enix is on there. Apparently Forspoken was one of the games they worked on. Whether if that's true or not, who knows what the next game is going to be. Oh, if it wasn't Forspoken, it may be an upcoming game. Maybe some of these companies are just on there that they just signed off on being a client for them in case they needed something to be worked on in the future. But regardless, it's very alarming when you're seeing the number of companies that are on their website, or the fact that these companies beforehand decided to work with them, because I'm sure they pitched the idea of what they wanted to do as far as like improve their games when it comes to writing and things like that. So it really does tell you like how these companies view their priorities, because it's no longer about innovation. It's about putting propaganda in everything, no matter what. And that's what Sweet Baby Inc. is doing. And a lot of people should just be aware of what's going on with them, and not trying to make excuses just for the sake because you want to play the new game.
And yeah, like I said before, man, they're, these people, like, in the end of the day, it doesn't really, like, whatever we say here, like I said, you're gonna see comments of people they're gonna talk shit. They're not gonna address anything that was said, despite the clear clarity and definitions that we both gave of what's going on, which I think is like the most hilarious part of this kind of video, that where you make it and get ready for the comments. You see, incel, y'all just mad, cope, seethe, cry, infuriate, whatever Final Fantasy status ailment they want to like claim you're having or whatever. In the end of the day, man, like, people, look, yes, Spider-Man 2 does have some redeeming elements. One element being that the graphics look decent enough. The web swinging looks fun. It's more of Spider-Man PS4. Of course, there's going to be things about these games that aren't bad. God of War, you might like the RPG mechanics, you might like the combat, the animation. So when we say that it's dog shit, it's because narratively they are dog shit. But if you want to play your this game because whatever reason, that's your prerogative. But don't deny reality. Don't pretend reality doesn't exist. And for people who don't want to buy the game because it's dog shit, because web swinging with pretty graphics isn't enough to change the fact that they don't want to be conditioned with social politics, then that's also a good reason. Just like you wanting to turn your brain off and pretend things don't exist because you want to web swing as Miles Morales, that's also your prerogative as well. And people need to understand that when people speak out against these things and when people don't want to support this shit, they are absolutely in the right to not do so. And they're not obligated to play a fucking game because it has, excuse my language or whatever, but play the damn game because it has pretty freaking visuals or it has pretty gameplay or whatever. Because you play games to have fun, but guess what? For some people, hearing a Catwoman complain about white privilege or Harley Quinn complain about capitalism and talk down to Batman, that's not fun for some people. Some people actually have common sense in the brain and they don't find that to be a good addition. And that could make a game not fun. That can make a game ass and terrible. And the sooner people get that through their heads, I think the sooner things will improve. And honestly, again, the fact that they won't do this and the fact that new IPs with this stuff fail miserably should show you that people don't want this, and what they really want is Spider-Man. What they really want is DC characters. That's what they're really into. But some people, again, everyone has their own thresholds for this kind of thing, and some people are willing to accept Spider-Man 2 being woke trash because they like Spider-Man. That doesn't mean that the game's not woke trash. Some people are willing to accept Harley Quinn talking down to Batman because they just want to play the new DC game, the new service game. They have Revenant said they have a fear of missing out, and those people and there's gonna be people in the middle who say, well, it's just whatever. I don't like it, but I just want to have fun playing the game. That there's people like that too. But ultimately, for the people that have critical thought and don't support it and don't want to give them their money, they're not wrong, and it doesn't change anything of what they're saying is true. And people need to get that through their thick skulls. Not everybody's a corporate slave. Not everybody's gonna mindlessly consume anything. So that's my take on it. And I think that people like Brian Inhitar or whatever, however you pronounce his name, I think he actually has a point, because even he knows, and what I mean by he has a point is that even he knows that people don't want this stuff, but maybe if you shove it in Spider-Man, that they can, then collectively people can pretend that they like it.
That's another great point you made about where people are conditioned to think that this is okay, that it's something that they want. I think that's what it is. They just convince themselves that this is what they want because they refuse to use critical thought. They refuse to miss out and to just accept that maybe this is a game that I'm just not going to get. I'm not going to support. Maybe this company is not for me anymore. Maybe they don't make the type of games that I enjoy. Because people have to understand that a lot of these companies are not the same compared to when they first arrived, or when you in particular were first introduced to them. It's kind of like Rockstar, where people were introduced to them for GTA 3 or GTA 4 or San Andreas or Vice City, whichever, maybe GTA 5. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that they're going to be the same company that they were back then. Same with Volition, with Saints Row 1 and Saints Row 2. Not the same company when that puts out Saints Row 2022. And it was pretty obvious. Same with Naughty Dog. Not the same company that made Jak and Daxter, or Crash Bandicoot, or the first 3 Uncharted games. It's not the same. I can keep going on and on about these examples. You can look at Sony Santa Monica with God of War, or whichever, like Remedy with Max Payne 1 and 2. It's not the same company. A lot of these companies are compromised. You see that in their games, and people just have to accept whether or not if they really like it, or if they're just trying to tell themselves that. I think that's what it is. A lot of people are just trying to convince themselves and everyone else around them that this is okay, this is good. It's no different to people who want to be fence sitters because they don't want to pick a side, because they want to have the best of both worlds, where it's like they can talk negatively about something because it's easy. It's easy to take the side of like Saints Row 2022 was garbage, or Last of Us 2 was very divisive. It's easy to take that side. But they also don't want to miss out because they feel the need to consume. And I think a lot of it is, a lot of people they want to talk about certain topics, but they don't fully understand what's going on. It's just, they just want to get in what's the new fad that's happening on YouTube or social media, and not really commit to it when we all know what's going on. It's like when you hear someone talk about what's happening within the gaming industry, and they sound like a robot, or they sound very like detached from what's happening. It sounds like they're just going along with the motions. Like they don't really believe in what they're saying. They're just saying it to say it because it's convenient, or that it's beneficial for them because they were able to grow an audience, and now they feel the need that they have to keep doing it. But deep down inside, they're going to keep buying the same games. They're going to keep supporting the same companies that they call out. And if you don't like what's going on, then the best thing to do is to speak with your wallet. Because ultimately it comes down to sales and all the stats and numbers that they collect. And if it's not looking good for them, then they're going to go the wayside. And once that happens, then more companies will realize, all right, this is something people don't like, because that ESG money well is going to run dry. It has for a lot of companies. Sweet Baby Inc. at some point or another will be gone. Hopefully sooner than later, because they are another cancer attached to gaming right now. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. And once again, thankfully, that Steam page was made to open a lot of people's eyes, because I know a lot of people had made videos months ago about Sweet Baby Inc. But again, the more people that talk about this, the better. And I think it's also important that a lot of people really stick to their guns when it comes down to what you're talking about, and just simply not give these companies your time and money. Call them out on their bullshit and keep on moving. Support other games that are not compromised, or not trying to do any subversion or any bullshit like that. No agendas, no politics, no one-sided social commentary, because people are tired of it. A lot of people are. You can see it. All these people can deny it as much as they want, but so many people are fed up with it. And that Steam page, with all the amount of people that joined, is a clear example that this is something we don't want. We're tired of it. We're sick of it. Sweet Baby Inc., no one wants you. All these woke activists in these studios, most of them fucking going under, we don't want you. You can go somewhere else. We don't give a shit. Stay out of our hobbies. Because it was so much better when you had people who actually gave a shit about what they were making. So when you hear like people say, now all these studios shut down, it's just going to be reduced to a white guy and his 5 white friends. Good. Let it be that way. Because you have it that way, you're going to have more people who actually give a fuck about what they make. Instead of having it now where everyone just wants to push an agenda over everything else. Gameplay, performance, all that is like a non-issue for them. Because we see all these games come out, $70 or more, all these delays, one after the other, and it still comes out broken, a mess. And then they want to give you shit whenever you call them out on putting out an inferior product, when that should not be the case. That's the other thing. A lot of these companies, they don't respect the consumers. And I don't even know why so many people would even just be in defense of them. They would they're on the front lines for them all the time. Doesn't matter what it is. No matter what evidence you put out there, they're always there trying to defend their favorite brand. This brand loyalty bullshit people have, and even some people who are defending Sweet Baby Inc. For whatever reason, they feel the need to do it when it's not beneficial to anyone. At least anyone who is not some weirdo activist who needs validation, representation to feel better for themselves, or think that that's gonna really improve the product when it's not.
Yeah, well said. And ultimately, I don't mind there being, minority characters or whatever, female character. I mean, we loved Tomb Raider in the past, and Bayonetta and Barrett, and I even like Prototype 2, even though it's below the first one. I actually do like that game. I think Keller has some cool powers or whatever. So, that being said, I just want the games to be good, have a good story. I don't want to be preached to. I don't care. I don't give a shit about what happened 200 years ago to people that had nothing to do with me. People have basically equal opportunity now, no matter how much people want to deny that. I mean, so add more characters that are, by all means do that, but just make sure they're well written and they're not complaining about other groups of people, and it's actually just for the sake of being fun and being great. And ultimately, again, like, Sweet Baby Inc. and all this stuff is like, you don't have to justify. People have to understand you can like whatever you want to like. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to cry and go after other people because you're angry because they don't like the same things as you. You can play Spider-Man. If you like Spider-Woke 2, if you like Starfield, if you like whatever freaking game you want to play it. Enjoy it and play it. Go to the side of YouTube of people that agree with you then, or whatever. But in the end of the day, trying to shame people for calling out terrible business practices, is not doing anything for gaming, and it doesn't help your cause at all. So, in the end of the day, Sweet Baby Inc. will go away. I don't think they're gonna last. I don't think they'll last long term. And I think in some way, when you cut the Hydra's head off, another one grows in its place. So I think that's also partially true. But again, you can come on this video, you can talk, you can argue your points, but being mad and throwing insults at people on videos you don't agree with or on a post you don't agree with is not helping your argument. Actually retort with intelligent counters and counterpoints, and I'm sure Revenant or myself or anyone else has no problem discussing these matters, but just be honest, be straightforward. And if you don't care about this stuff, then fine, don't care, but don't be mad at people who do give a crap and do have a spine and don't like it and won't give them their money, and that's just that's my take on it. So, but yeah, thanks for letting me talk about this stuff. It was fun. For people who don't know, I'm an animator. I make YouTube content. I stream games. I make a lot of Arkham content. You can follow me on there. The channel is not really that political. It's mostly like gameplay and animation and stuff. So, but so follow me on there if you're interested. If not, that's cool too. Thanks for having me, as always, Revenant, and appreciate you letting me talk on here.
Definitely. It was great having you on again. These type of discussions, I figure, it's good to have, a like-minded person and just say what we have to say from the heart. No bullshit. We're not trying to shill for companies. We're not trying to sit on the fence. We're not trying to, get both people from both sides to agree. Just say what we have to say. You agree, cool. You disagree, that's cool as well. But people have to understand that a lot of people who are against all this stuff going on, whether if it's Sweet Baby Inc., woke companies, whether if they're Western or Eastern, whether if it has anything to do with ESG or not, people who talk about this stuff, a lot of them are very, tired of what's happening. They actually care. It comes from a place of passion and wanting things to get better, not just being complacent or just accepting things as they are and pretending it's the best it's ever been, because it's not. And a lot of people, they may want to convince you and themselves that gaming is the best it's ever been. So and such year is one of the best games in gaming, when it's not. A lot of us know it's not. And when you talk about these type of topics, when you call out companies like Sweet Baby Inc., when you make a Steam group page documenting the games that they're involved in, that's the type of stuff that we need, because that's how gaming as a whole will get better. Because people want escapism, they want fun, innovative products from companies that give a shit, not soulless cash grabs, chasing trends, and just doing whatever they have to do for stockholders and doing the bare minimum for consumers, and also for companies that can take criticism. But that's our whole our thoughts on Sweet Baby Inc., what's been going on as of late. And like Jenpachi was saying, that at some point they'll be out the door soon, hopefully sooner than later, and another company will probably take its place. But I think the more people are aware of what's going on, the better, because that way another company like Sweet Baby Inc. comes around, it'll be harder for them to get away with the bullshit, because more people will be aware of what's happening. And that's the important thing. People need to be aware. of what's going on. So once more people know what's up, then these companies won't be able to get away with any of the shenanigans they've been doing for the last couple of years now. So thank you all for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And until then, we'll see you later. Fuck Sweet Baby Inc.